For a long time, I believed compounding was something that mostly benefited younger investors. Because when you start investing later in life, it feels like you've already missed the important years. And when I started investing at 50, I wasn't thinking about becoming wealthy. I was just trying to figure out whether I had already run out of time. Because in my mind, I only had about 10 years left before retirement. And the more that I looked at investing, the more it felt like compounding was something that mostly benefited people who started investing at, say, 20 or 25 or even 30, not somebody that was starting out at 50 like I was. And for a long time, I genuinely believed that I was simply too late for compounding to make a meaningful difference. But over the last few years, something started changing in this portfolio. And now that it's crossed a certain point, I'm starting to realize that I may have been looking at time completely wrong. Because the more I dig into this, the more I'm realizing there may be another side of compounding that people don't really talk about nearly enough, especially for those of us that are starting later in life. And once that started clicking for me, it completely changed how I think about investing, retirement, and what's actually possible over the next, say, 10, 15, or even 20 years. My name is Darren. I'm just a regular Canadian who used to think that it was too late to start investing. But I started anyway, and I'm proving every single day that it's never too late to build wealth. And in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about something that completely changed how I think about compounding later in life, because I think a lot of people may be looking at their timeline completely wrong. Recently, I was scrolling through Blossom Social and I came across a post from a younger investor that completely changed how I was thinking about compounding. And it wasn't really the current portfolio size that caught my attention, it was the projections. Now, this investor was 32 years old with roughly $910,000 in their portfolio. Pretty impressive. And the post showed what the portfolio could potentially grow into if they never added another dollar again, just based on long-term average market returns. Now, obviously nothing is guaranteed and markets fluctuate, and some years it's a negative return. But historically, the S&P 500 has averaged around 10% over long periods of time. And when I saw those projections, they honestly looked almost unbelievable. Now, this portfolio at the age of 40 was destined to grow to $2 million, and at age 50, over $5 million. And by the age of 65, over $21 million without adding a single dollar. Just time, compounding, and staying invested. And when I saw that, something really started clicking for me. Because it wasn't somebody that was chasing the meme stocks or gambling or trying to get rich overnight. This was somebody who simply started early, and they allowed time to do the heavy lifting. And that's when I started asking myself a completely different question about my own portfolio. Because when I started investing at 50, I had assumed I had already missed the years where compounding could really matter. But now, I'm not sure that that's true anymore. When I first started investing, I thought that the biggest challenge was figuring out what to invest in. The best ETF, the best returns, or the best strategy. And I think that's where most people spend their time. That's why people spend hours comparing ETFs, watching investing videos, following influencers, and scrolling through places like Blossom Social looking for an edge. Because we naturally assume wealth is mostly created through better investments. Now, don't get me wrong, I actually think that communities like Blossom Social are incredibly valuable because you get exposed to how real people are building wealth over long periods of time. That's one of the reasons that I spend time on there myself. But over the last few years, I've started realizing something very different. And the strange part is, I didn't fully see it until my own portfolio started growing. 3 years ago, when I started investing, my portfolio was sitting around $220,000. And at the time, that number felt incredibly small compared to where I thought we needed to be. Because in my head, the clock was ticking. I was 50 years old. I wanted to retire around 60. We had kids, we had expenses. Life was moving fast. And I remember thinking, how am I supposed to build enough wealth over such a short period of time? That's really when things started changing for me, because I stopped looking at the investments like some side hobby, and I started treating it like something that could directly impact our future. I started looking at where our money was going, how much we were spending, what we were actually needing, and how aggressively we could realistically invest. And once I started understanding the math behind compounding, something shifted mentally. Because I realized I didn't necessarily need perfect investments or crazy returns or some magical strategy. What I needed was a system, a way to consistently move meaningful amounts of money into investments and allow time to start working for us. And over time, those contributions started stacking. Then the growth started stacking. And then eventually the portfolio itself started growing in ways that I didn't fully expect given my age. And that's when I started realizing something important. Maybe the problem wasn't that I had no time left. Maybe I was simply looking at time the wrong way. And this is where things really started to become an eye-opener for me, because once I started looking back at the actual numbers, I realized something really important. At first, it feels like you are doing all of the heavy lifting. And in the beginning, that was absolutely true. Looking back to 2023 when I started, I was just trying to figure out which brokerage account to open, what ETFs to buy, how do I learn about investing, what systems do I need to build. But over time, we started becoming a lot more intentional about what we were doing. We took the money we had, and whatever was left over, we started to invest the rest. Once we really understood what we were trying to accomplish, what was our goal, those contributions started increasing. In 2023, we contributed roughly $25,000. In 2024, that raised to about $34,000. And in 2025, it was just over $51,000. And already in 2026, we've contributed over $33,000. Now, I know that those numbers, they may sound large to some people, but the important part isn't really the exact dollar amounts. It's the consistency, because that's what actually gets the compounding working. And I think that's an important distinction. Now, somebody in their 20s, they may have more time, but later in life, you're often in your higher earning years, which means that you may have a greater ability to contribute meaningfully if you become intentional with your money. And that's really what's starting to happen for us. We weren't suddenly becoming wealthy overnight. We simply started managing our money differently. Looking at things like where money was going, what could we be optimizing, what could we be redirecting, and how we could use the tools available to us to be more efficient. And one of the biggest parts of that was understanding how to use tax advantage accounts more strategically. Now, I want to be careful here because not every RRSP strategy is automatically a good strategy, and I am not a financial advisor, so I can't give financial advice. But in some cases, if you use an RRSP incorrectly, you can actually create more taxes later in life. So this isn't simply throw your money in an RRSP. What we were specifically trying to do was target the highest tax dollars that we were earning today and defer those taxes into retirement, and ideally withdraw those dollars later when our income and tax rate is lower. And once I started to understand that, the tax return itself became part of the investing strategy. Every year, we took the full tax return generated from those contributions and put it straight back into the portfolio. Not part of it, all of it. So the contribution helped generate the refund. Then the refund got reinvested, which increased the portfolio, which then created more compounding. It became like a snowball effect. And that's what's important. We weren't suddenly going out and finding massive amounts of extra money. We were simply becoming more efficient with the money that we already had. And the deeper that I got into investing, the more I realized this isn't just about what you invest in. It's also about how you contribute, how you structure your accounts, how you manage taxes, and how you accumulate assets over long periods of time. That's also one of the reasons that the TFSA is such an incredible account for Canadians, because those after-tax dollars are growing completely tax-free. And long-term, they don't affect your taxable income the same way later in life. So once you start understanding how the TFSA, the RRSP, and other investment accounts all work together strategically, you start realizing that investing is much bigger than simply just picking the right ETF. And honestly, that's one of the reasons that I work with a financial planner as well, because I realized very quickly this isn't just about investments. It's about building an entire long-term strategy around your taxes, your contributions, your accumulation, and everything else about retirement. And over time, something really started happening. By June of 2024, the portfolio had reached roughly $200,000. By December of 2024, it was around $315,000. And by December of 2025, it was roughly $445,000. Then around $480,000 in March of 2026, and now in May of 2026, it's $525,000. Now, obviously, contributions played a massive role in the growth, but eventually, the portfolio itself started participating too. And when I roughly added everything up all time, I realized that somewhere around $130,000 to $150,000 of this portfolio is all from growth, from compounding. Because once the portfolio crossed a certain size, the compounding itself finally became very visible. It's no longer just theoretical, and I'm not looking at it in a calculator, and I'm certainly not just reading about it as a concept in a book. I could actually see it happening. The growth was no longer only coming from those contributions. The portfolio itself was starting to generate a meaningful amount of growth on its own. And once that happened, I stopped looking at time as the enemy. I started realizing time might still be one of my biggest advantages. But the biggest realization came later. For years, I kept thinking, I only have 10 years. And mentally, that creates a lot of pressure, because if you believe that you only have 10 years, you start thinking, well, I'm too late. Growth won't matter. Compounding won't matter. Retirement, it's too close. But then something finally clicked for me. Retirement doesn't mean that the portfolio stops compounding. And once I started looking at things a lot differently, I realized that a portion of this portfolio may continue growing for another, say, 15 or 20 or even 25 years. And suddenly the timeline looked completely different. That realization changed how I think about investing, how I think about growth, and how I think about retirement, and how I think about compounding later in life. Because I wasn't investing for only 10 more years. Part of this portfolio may still have decades left to grow. And once I started running forward projections on my own portfolio, that's when things really became eye-opening. Because when you start projecting different scenarios, the numbers start looking a whole lot different than what I expected. Now again, nothing in investing is guaranteed. Markets fluctuate, returns fluctuate. Some years you're going to have negative returns. So for these projections, I wanted to look at things through a very conservative lens. So I'm using a very conservative annual return of, say, 5%, because I think that's a much more realistic long-term planning number for someone that started later. And more importantly, I wanted to look at this through the lens of retirement. This is really important because in roughly 7 years, we're likely going to start transitioning into the decumulation phase, meaning money will eventually start coming out of the portfolio, not just going into it anymore. So the first thing I asked myself was, what will happen if I don't contribute another dollar again over the next 7 years? Using that same 5% annual return, $525,000 portfolio turns into roughly about $739,000 in 7 years without adding a single contribution to it. Just time and compounding continuing to work in the background. And that was really eye-opening for me, because suddenly I realized retirement doesn't mean that compounding stops. But then I looked at what would happen if we just simply stayed on the same path that we're already on. We're not going to increase any contributions. We're not chasing crazy returns. We're just continuing to consistently invest and let compounding do its thing over time. So the portfolio sits obviously at $525,000 today. And under that scenario, the portfolio could potentially grow to roughly $1.15 million in just 7 years. And I think that was the point where everything really changed mentally for me, because once the portfolio crosses a certain size, that compounding itself, it finally becomes evidently visible. It's not theoretical. You're not looking at it in a calculator. You're certainly not reading about the theory in a book. You can actually see it happening. And that growth is no longer coming to you just from your contributions. The portfolio itself is now generating a meaningful amount of growth all on its own. And once that happens, for me, I stopped looking at time as the enemy, and I started realizing that time might still be one of the biggest advantages. But then I realized something. The truth is that retirement isn't just about accumulation. Eventually, we have to start drawing down on our portfolio. So I started asking, what happens if we begin withdrawing money from the portfolio, say $20,000 or $30,000 a year, while the portfolio continues to compound at the same time? And this is where things really became interesting for me, because even after factoring in all of the withdrawals, the projections still looked much stronger than I expected. At roughly $1 million portfolio with a 5% return alone, that could potentially generate $50,000 annually before withdrawals, which means even after withdrawing $20,000 or even $30,000, there's still potential for portfolio to grow on its own. And that completely changed how I viewed retirement, because suddenly retirement no longer looked like the end of compounding. It looked more like a transition into a different phase of the portfolio. And that was a massive mindset shift for me, because for years I thought I only have 10 years. But now I'm starting to realize that a portion of this portfolio may continue compounding for decades beyond retirement. And that's also why I've become much more focused on broad market ETFs, consistency, tax efficiency, and long-term strategy. And that's also one of the reasons that I enjoy using Blossom Social, especially the pro side of the app. You can track your portfolio, link your portfolio, follow other investors, and really start seeing how long-term wealth gets built over time. So if you've been thinking about checking it out, I do have a referral link down below for Blossom Pro. I'm also an ambassador over there, and you can follow my portfolio and some of the other investors that I learn from as well. Now, if you want to see exactly how I'm building this portfolio, what I'm buying and how I structure things and how I'm actually approaching investing later in life, you should watch this month end portfolio update right here, because that video will show you the real world side of everything that we've talked about today.